Okay. All right. We're recording. We're live.
All right.
Okay. Welcome, guys. This is Back Sports Page podcast called Cut the Nets. This is going to be episode 2. Note that we had episode 1 recorded on November 28th, so we're going to have both 2 uploaded online. Episode 1 might seem a little bit old, but that's basically because it was recorded 2 weeks ago, and we had like some tech issues. I don't want to give all the long story details, but yeah. I'm Jeremy, here with Brian Ramos and Chris. We're going to talk basketball pretty much. The title is Zion being Zion, and I feel like that's very fitting for this podcast, mainly because of the Pelicans' dominance this season so far. So, did y'all watch the game against the Suns? It's like I think the last one.
I didn't see the whole game, but I saw the last 5 minutes of the game. So I saw the Zion breakaway garbage time dunk and the fight that ensued, and then I saw the highlight of Chris Paul pretty much intentionally elbowing Jose Alvarado in the face.
Yeah, so I mean, it looks like there's gonna be a little bit of a rivalry. I mean, it stems back from last year's playoffs where the Pelicans took the Suns to 6 games and nearly took it to 7. But yeah, I mean, I feel like the Pelicans are just going off this season. They're now the first seed, and it's without Brandon Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's all because you still have a full season of McCollum, Valanciunas, Jose Alvarado has been more of an offensive threat. Zion, he looks healthy. So this team's finally just clicking together, and not only do they have a solid starting lineup, but they also have some solid bench options. And like you said, they don't even have Brandon Ingram, so they're definitely a fun team to watch.
Yeah, and when Brandon Ingram comes back, like, oof, it's gonna be one hell of a team for sure. You guys got any Coach of the Year, like Coach of the Year nods already? Even though it's like what 26th game of the season.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you definitely got to put Willie Green in there.
Yeah.
Even with Missoula, even though he's coming back with a solid foundation. I think one of the worst coaching leagues can coach Boston. They'll still be one of the top 2 or 3 in the East. But you still got to give it to him, first year coach. But still, I mean, you still got to let it play out. But I like Willie Green from what he's doing. Yeah, honestly, that's probably Willie Green's probably at the top for me. Honestly.
So far, yeah. I feel like Willie Green, if this keeps going up and Zion does what he does, 30 points a game, he's probably one of the best slashers in the league, if not the best slasher. I mean, he looks like he's back to like, his I want to say his rookie season whenever he was on the court healthy.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I don't know, it's nuts. Jose Alvarado, there was like one game where he like hit what? Did he hit like 12 threes or something? Where he had like 30
something like that.
That was nuts too. Like that team is something else.
Yeah, and I like that, and also like especially that rivalry with the Suns, and Zion pretty much did it because they eliminated his team last year, and I mentioned it in my article from the Knicks Hawks series or game the other day. In the opening paragraph, I mentioned that like it's best for the NBA to have rivalries because you don't really see them as much due to like the frenzy of free agency and trades and all that. So I think like this Pelicans Suns rivalry is definitely shaping up to be a good one. The Knicks and Hawks have become a rivalry, and the Nets and Celtics are also a good rivalry. So there's a lot of rivalries, and I think that's best for basketball going on right now.
I do like that actually. That's actually a good point you listed, Brian. I feel like rivalries kind of keep the NBA a lot more entertaining, and I think that's what happens with like back in the day with like the 80s and 90s basketball teams because like there were a ton of rivalries and there weren't many trades going on with like their main players because there were rivalries going on, and that's what really had the NBA so entertaining. Now there's like tons of trades. Who wants to ring chase with a championship team, and and that rivalry sort of dissipates between the teams. It's more of like a player versus player rivalry, which is kind of hit or miss because sometimes the players that don't like each other eventually join the team that they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Lakers. Westbrook and Pat Beverly weren't the biggest fans of each other.
Yeah, I don't get how they're on the same team now. I just don't get it. I feel like
Well,
and they're playing,
I mean, when you play ball, Jay, you know, you trying to win the championship. That's the championship. That's the ultimate goal. You can put all other stuff to the side if it's going to result in winning. At the end of the day, because at the end of the day, when you play ball, and it's never personal, so you can put a lot of stuff to the side. He's not talking about his family and his kids and stuff, so you can put all other stuff to the side. Yeah, man, you ran into my leg. I got hurt 6-7 years ago. Most of the time, you can put all that stuff to the side. If you to reach your ultimate goal, usually 9 times out of
usually.
10 professional athletes, yeah, they'll put
Usually.
that stuff to the side. Yeah.
But like if they're winning, Chris.
That's
Like
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If they're winning, I mean, the Lakers they're playing better, but they got a long way to go. So
yeah,
that's the way I see it.
Anthony Davis is probably the only one that's like kind of keeping them afloat.
Oh yeah, I mean he has to. That's why I mean I don't know why
Really.
people are shocked by it. He has to. He has to play this way for the Lakers to even have a chance.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Speaking of Lakers, what game do you guys think LeBron will pass Kareem in points?
Oh, I think it'd be after the All-Star break.
After the All-Star break?
I think so.
Let me check the NBA points because like I know that it's a pretty big deal, and LeBron's almost he's like number 2 now, I think.
Yeah, I think just like I mean I agree with the after the All-Star break because it's also like with him getting up there in age, he's like because I have him in fantasy basketball in league and I always see it's day to day, but he's probable. Sometimes he'll sit, so I don't think he's gonna be playing many back to backs now with how much load management's getting talked about. I mean, I don't know how close he is. Like I don't know the numbers, but just thinking logistically, I'd say he's probably a couple months away. So yeah, I'd also go after the All-Star break.
I just looked and he's about
1,000 something away.
He's got about 800 points around it, a little over 800 points away. So like,
oh yeah,
he's mostly a 20 points per game scorer now. So give or take.
Factor he's not playing every game, JT. So
no. He'll probably play around 65 games, 64 games, best case scenario.
I'll probably maybe
yeah.
Depends.
So, and he's played like I don't know how many games has he played. Yeah. He's played 19 games. So we'll see maybe in the next
out of 26. So that's not bad.
Yeah. So
maybe like before St. Patrick's Day.
I feel like probably when like all the teams that tank start like winning more games, that's gonna probably hit it. And the Lakers will probably still be in the 9th seed during that time. And they'll probably think of trading Westbrook, and then they'll be like, nah.
Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, there's been some trades about John Collins going to the Lakers. They've been talking about that.
Who does Atlanta want?
I think Atlanta. I think they want like. Oh man,
we don't really have no pieces that
they don't. But there's been like some talks. I feel like it's just because LeBron's on the team, and
I'm sure
he's like LeBron, and it's the Lakers, so they're trying to make it seem like the Lakers are relevant or something.
Yeah, I know the Lakers have been trying to add some shooting. So there was a report today. I forgot who the third player was. Maybe it was John Collins, but I know they're also looking at Evan Fournier and Cam Reddish.
We did talk about on the last podcast how like the Knicks should trade for Russell Westbrook.
But that's the thing. I honestly don't see the way it's going. The Lakers aren't going to trade Russell Westbrook this year, man.
Is this like the final year of his contract too?
Yes,
it is.
Okay,
40,
so like
$47 million.
$47 million. Jesus.
I know.
What would I do for $47 million?
Right, I know. You guys got to keep in mind the way he's flourishing off the bench right now. He's leading all bench players in assists, and he's playing well. His turnovers came down, so they're gonna ride this out at least until obviously close to the All-Star break. So they're gonna ride it out because I mean they're playing well. If Indiana, if Nembhard doesn't knock down that shot and they finish off Portland a couple of weeks before that, they're a 500 team right now. I mean that's a big if, but I'm just saying. So they're trending in the right direction, I think.
You think Darvin Ham's better coach than Frank Vogel?
I can't say that because Frank Vogel's a champion. But I do like the adjustments Ham makes on the fly, and he doesn't seem to favor any player because of the name on the back of their jersey. He's gonna have the guys out there who are playing well, like Austin Reeves. When he's playing well, he's gonna be on the floor in the fourth quarter. He might take Pat Bev out. Like those are the little things that matter. Russ, you're not playing well, so I'm gonna finish with Lonnie. Stuff like that matters, and that goes a long way with players. Like, man, you see me playing well, but I'm coming out the game because Russ Book is a 10-time All-Star, whatever it is. So I do like the adjustments he makes on the fly. And guys are playing hard for him. That's what matters. You want to be able to go to war for your coach.
Yeah, I kind of wish that the Rockets were doing that.
No, the Rockets are competing. They just you guys don't have the talent. The Rockets definitely.
It's not that like we compete for sure. It's just that our coaching decisions are kind of out of whack.
What
like we start Eric Gordon at the 3.
Who would you rather start? Martin?
KJ Martin, yeah.
Martin?
Dude, KJ Martin is athletic. He was like the 52nd pick in the 2020 draft or something, I think. And he has been unreal. He's been amazing off the bench.
But I don't think he shoots the ball well enough. That's why. Because with Porter and Green, y'all need somebody that can stretch the floor, and Martin doesn't shoot the ball well enough. From what I've seen, I gotta go look at his numbers. I don't think he shoots the ball well enough. I know he can attack the basket.
I know he attacks the basket. He's always like cutting to the basket a lot during plays for sure.
Right.
But I mean, let's see his overall side. I don't think he's much of a 3-point shooter. I think you're right about that. Yeah, he only shoots 31% from the field.
How many does he take though? Sometimes that can be deceiving. Yeah, you want guys to shoot well, but how many does he even take? Because if he takes 2 or 3 a game, guys aren't honor it.
Yeah, based on like the last 10 games, he's only been taking like 2 or 3 threes a game.
Right.
But his field goal percentage is pretty solid, I'll say.
Oh yeah, because he lives at the rim.
Yeah, and I feel like he's able to hold his own against the 3s and 4s of the opposing team because he's able to hit block shots really well. Like he always has like those highlight real plays against like the franchise players of the opposing teams. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I just feel like they have better chemistry. Eric Gordon, every time he has the ball, he's always trying to just drive to the basket or just kick it to the guy on the left side of the wing. And he just kind of he's just waiting there. And he's
just standing there.
He just appears frustrated on the court because of course
he's not on a good team. He went from being on a team with James and CP, and then we had James by himself, and to not being relevant for the last 4 years. So that's tough, man. To give it to go work every day knowing your team's not good. But I promise you, somebody will make a bid for him this year. Somebody will give Houston something for him because he can help a contending team off the bench.
Oh, for sure, think so. Definitely.
I think so. That's my opinion.
No, I've been writing countless articles about him.
I know, solid.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I've been reading them. They solid.
I've been writing countless articles about him. How he's like, why is he starting? If he wants to be on the team, be a leadership. Have a leadership role in the locker room, like
not playing,
like Boban. Like Marjanovic. Like have that sort of leadership role and only be like maybe I don't know, get 15-20 minutes per game if that's okay. If that's okay with him. If it's not, then leave the team. Trade, request a trade. So,
but that Boban that's a little different because guys are better than him. How many guys on the Rockets are better than Eric at the perimeter? Is better than Eric Gordon right now, though. Besides Green, is Porter really that much better than him right now?
No, actually, Eric Gordon's doing pretty well on the team.
But that's what I'm saying. So
the last time I checked,
that's what I'm saying. So you can't just say go put him on the bench. I mean, you got to keep him on.
He's doing pretty well. To do, though. He is taking a dip in 3-point percentage. He's shooting 35% from 3, but he does shoot like 5 threes a game, sometimes 7. But again, I don't know. Like it's just every time I see him at the 3 in the starting lineup, I mean, I see countless of the beat writers who know a lot more than I do. I kind of look up to them and they're like, "Why is Eric Gordon starting? Why is he starting? Please start KJ. Please start Jayshawn Tate, who got that 3-year, $21 million extension. And then he hasn't even started. I mean, yeah, he's got an ankle injury, but that's been since like the beginning of the season. It wasn't even a serious ankle injury to begin with. He hasn't really played at all. And Jayshawn Tate was one of the more impactful players last season.
Yeah, and I think just like going off that, and I think why you and why many Rocket fans or beat writers don't want Gordon starting is because they're not here to contend. They're here to just develop their guys, see their talent, see what works. Because the Rockets are also a very young team. Mm-hmm. So Eric Gordon's not gonna help them win for the foreseeable future. So they should just either restrict his minutes or just send him out of there where he can be where he wants to be and help a contending team, and the Rockets can help go with their rebuild.
Yeah.
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 But y'all, go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I was gonna just kind of transition to like the Celtics dominance, but
Oh.
you know what?
Real quick, let me say, but about the Eric Gordon thing, you guys got to keep in mind too. You guys have to up his trade value. If he's on the bench, who's going to give you guys something for a guy who doesn't play? The more he plays, if he continues to play well, you guys can potentially get more for him. You're not gonna give a lot. I'm not gonna give a lot to a guy who's on the bench who doesn't play, as opposed to a guy who I'm seeing playing. Yeah, his team's not good, but I see what he could potentially bring to my team. So you guys got to keep that in mind too. But go ahead.
I mean, that's a good point, but that's still just like the interest factor of like if they know you can ball, they know you can ball. I mean, Evan Fournier hasn't played for the Knicks in like 8 games, and he's still getting a lot of interest just because teams know that he's a good shooter, and teams need that.
Honestly, that's absolutely about Fournier too.
It's both are pretty valid points. It's just that how far are you going to go with starting Eric Gordon? How long are you going to do this? How long are you going to prolong all these players that you need to integrate within the team to play with each other really well, in this season? How long are you going to keep that from gelling well? And the more you start Eric Gordon, and the more the Rockets struggle on that end, then the less, I guess, the less time you have on chemistry issues with the rebuilding team. Oh, Randy, he's joining. What's up, dude?
It's up.
Just crash the party here? Like what?
Yeah, man. Let's talk some hoops. Let's do it.
Yeah, we were just talking about Eric Gordon's situation, about how why he's still being started on the lineup on every single Rockets game. He's not a bench player. He's still at the 3.
You know what it is? Eric Gordon is a guy right now who I think has enough equity that the Rockets just do him a solid right now and move him to a championship contender. He's a guy who brings experience or a team would probably be able to benefit from a guy like him would be like a team like New Orleans or maybe Memphis. I think if you put him on a team like that, they would really, like I said, he needs to go to a championship contender. If you look at the Eastern Conference, I know a team like the Milwaukee Bucks can certainly use Eric Gordon right now,
especially after last night.
Yeah, especially after last night. And you know who else could probably use him and probably would be able to benefit from him greatly right now would be the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks can really use another shooter to go with Trae Young and Devontae Murray. But I right now, you just look at Eric's situation. He's looked at as a veteran on a very, very young team. And he brings experience to help guys like Jalen Green and Smith and a couple of the other kids. But you know what, though? You're almost doing him a disservice because he's got a lot of good basketball left in him, and he really can go to a team that can help. I would even say you don't want to trade him in conference. But even a team like Sacramento, you put him in Sacramento, he would really flourish there also. I really do think that.
Maybe. But good to see you, Randy.
Thanks. Hey, Chris.
How you doing, brother? But like I was telling Jay, who's a Rockets fan, they're talking about moving him to the bench and not playing him as much and building the young guys. Like at the end of the day, for his trade value to go up here, guys want to see what he can bring to the table. I'm not going to trade you for a guy who's on the bench and is not playing. Period, point blank. I mean, that's to me, that's what it comes down to. But somebody's going to make a pitch for him. Go ahead.
Well, I think the thing is, though, in the beginning of the season, when you guys have veteran players on a young team, I think what you do is you want to show that he still has something left in the tank before you start shopping him around. I think this is the part of the season now where everybody's available to be traded. I think they said 93% of all contracts now can be traded in the NBA due to that December deadline.
Yep.
So now they can start seeing what's out there. And I don't think they'd move him for players. I think they'd more move him for equity, more draft picks and cash considerations. Yeah. But also, guys, I got to throw this out there too. There's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be hesitant to make any moves right now, mostly because of the collective bargaining agreement. They just extended out the negotiation deadline about opting out and et cetera. So we have to really be careful with what kind of deals are going to be made. You're looking at the possible John Collins deal in Atlanta. No team is ready to take on that type of contract if there's a possible work stoppage and a hard cap.
Is that because every year he's always being talked about as a trade package?
Well, I think Atlanta made a really bad decision giving him that type of money, but they had to
give
give
him all
him
that
that type of money. Yeah. I'm sorry?
Yeah. No, I'll agree with you. So, yeah, they can't complain now. They're the ones that gave him all that money. Can't
Well,
complain now.
they had to give him the money
Yeah.
because they made the Eastern Conference Finals, and he
Yep.
had a good series, he had a good year,
Yep.
and so they rewarded him. But
Had
now
to.
but at the time you're like, wow, that's a bargain because you earned the money, but now it's a bad contract. That happens to 85% of the time with these players. So so as far as going back to Eric Gordon is concerned, you have to find, if you're going to make a move, you have to be able to find the right situation, not only for him but also for you. You want to do a guy a solid after all the years of loyalty that he's been there for you.
I agree.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I agree to that part.
Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead, Randy. Sorry.
No, I was just about to say, and this league has a lot of young, talented players who right now who are not getting a lot of opportunity. And I'm going to use this as an example, and I'll show why it has the parallels with the Rockets. The Nets the other night played the Indiana Pacers with their top 8 players out of the lineup.
That was hilarious. Oh my god!
And they beat the Pacers. But what I took away from it is you're watching some of these young kids on the Nets play. Like Cameron Thomas scored his career high 33 points. There's guys on these teams who can play. They can ball, and sometimes you just have to move players around and let these kids play. Yep. Right now, Eric Gordon going to the bench and letting some of these kids play is not a bad thing for Houston. You're paying Gordon all this money, so you have to make sure you get something out of him, or you have to move him and get something back for him.
I think when they start moving Gordon to the bench, then there's probably some sort of like trade negotiations going on surrounding him, and then eventually the trigger will be pulled in that sense because he's not starting much.
Yeah, I agree with that. Brian, you were just about to jump in, so please, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all good. I mean, I was just going to say, I agree with your last point about Cam Thomas. I mean, I've been a big fan of him. I know he can play. There was reports that he even stands up to Durant and goes toe to toe with him in one-on-ones and practices. And
he does.
And I definitely agree with the let the kids play. I mean, take a look at the team I cover, the Knicks. Ever since Thibodeau went with the 9-man rotation and gives more minutes to McBride and Quentin Grimes, they're on a 4-game win streak, and it's against good teams holding them under 100. They held the Cavaliers to 81, the Hawks with 89, Hornets 102, the Kings under 100 at 99. Not only are they in this win streak, they're beating good teams, and they're finally living up to the defensive mindset, defense first.
And that's coming from a coach who only wants to play veterans. Thibodeau has a very bad reputation of wanting to play young players, but then when 65 to 70% of your team has been in the league for 4 years or less, you eventually have to play those players. And it's a shame because I'm around. I watch the Knicks. I've been to one Knicks practice this year. I took a ride up there, and I'll be 100% honest with you. They have a lot of good between Obi and Quigley and a couple of the other kids they have there. I question the ceiling for RJ Barrett. That's the one guy on their roster I look at and I say, you know what? Is this the guy that really should be groomed to be the number one guy? Or is he being groomed for Batman? Or is he a Robin? Or is he Alfred or Lucius? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
or Rachel, if you're
or Rachel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, RJ's definitely been frustrating. He's not shooting the rock well. He his plus minus has been awful. His shooting from the 3-point range has been awful. Coming into the season, I actually thought RJ was going to have the breakout season, and I was nervous for Brunson because undersized point guard, playing New York, getting the money and all that. And it's just been the complete opposite. Brunson's been the one saving this team. He's even been helping out Randall, so the turnovers for Randall's been low. I've ran the ball up, and it's just RJ just being frustrating. And now you have him at 4 years, $120 million. So he's kind of stuck with RJ, but I hope he can ball out.
But my biggest problem with that is you overpaid for a guy who was second fiddle in Dallas during the playoffs, and he's not really an all-star. Well, you had to because the free agent market this year it was bare. There wasn't a lot of standout free agents in this year's free agent class. There wasn't a lot of options for the Knicks, and we look up and down the Eastern Conference. Brian and I in the New York metropolitan area. You guys are on the West Coast.
Mhm.
You look around, like when Madison Square Garden is rocking, the league and the Knicks are playing well. The league is in a good place as far as the Eastern Conference is concerned. When the Knicks are really bad, it's
like
not pretty. Yeah, it's
business
not
as
pretty.
usual.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
here's a disgusting stat. You ready? Since 2001 season, the Knicks have only made the playoffs 5 times and have
Yeah.
only won 1 series since then. The Nets, on the other hand, since the 2021 season, has made the playoffs 16 times and has won 12 playoff series. So, who are the Kings of New York?
I mean, this was back when they were in New Jersey, so I mean, it
Well,
wasn't
yeah,
like a
right,
no,
but still in the metropolitan area, because when they were still in New Jersey, and Brian can attest to this too, they were only 40 minutes from each other.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
You see what I'm saying? So, like, who's really people want to criticize the way the Nets are run, but they've had more success since 2000 than the Knicks have.
It's because they buy players.
They've had better players too, though, Randy.
They buy players.
Well, that's the thing too, and like and this is a major problem, not just with basketball, but with all sports. New York has to overpay people to play there because guys don't want to come there because of the media and all the extra pressure that comes with it.
Yeah.
You think so?
Oh, dude, nobody.
It's like going to the Yankees. You know, if you go to the Yankees, you have to you shave your beard. Your ERA probably goes up by 1 or 2 points. Like it's a huge thing when you go to be playing New York, no matter what sport it is.
Look, if you win in New York, you're like a little bit like, I don't want to say a god, but you're looked at on another level. Carmelo Anthony, to his credit, wanted to be in New York and he wanted to win there. He just couldn't because it never seemed to work out where he had the right horses with him. But in that situation, poor management, Jim Dolan, you can say what you want about other owners in the league, like guys like Cuban and stuff like that, being hands-on. Dolan is hands-on in all the wrong ways. Mark Cuban is hands-on in the right ways because he's trying to do what's best for the team.
Mm-hmm.
And players love playing for Cuban. You know what I mean? Maybe it's because he's giving them a boatload of cash every 2 weeks. You're getting $750,000 at the end of every single week from Mark Cuban. Life ain't that bad, okay? You can deal with not making the finals by getting $750,000 every single week. But that's just me.
Okay.
So sorry, I feel like I'm just jumping in and
no, you're good. I appreciate the input, Randy. Appreciate you for coming on. That was quite a nice surprise. I mean, when it comes to the Knicks, they have gotten a little bit better. It's kind of interesting to see Thibodeau,
you're not really
changing his outlook, his approach on how he coaches, because he usually has the usual suspects on his teams with veteran players, like Taj Gibson and like
Derrick
other
Rose.
players, Derrick Rose. Yeah, exactly. So, with him encouraging his young players to on his back to play more, it's definitely a better side to see. The Knicks are winning more games. They're in the 8th seed now. They're a little over 500 now, and which is a pretty good improvement, and definitely something to look forward to in the future for the team.
I have a question. I have 2 questions. I have one question for Chris, but I also have a question for everybody, and I'll ask this one for everybody first. If I would have told you back in October that on December 12th that the New Orleans Pelicans would be the number 1 team in the Western Conference, would you guys believe me?
Yeah.
I was going to say 6th seed.
Without question.
We just talked about it. I mean, I'm surprised. I mean, like the Pelicans, I know they can ball. I just didn't expect them to be the best team in the Western Conference, 2nd best team in the league, or 3rd best team in the league, just because I didn't know Zion was going to be fully back. Brandon Ingram's been injured, and he's kind of like the anchor of that team, but they just done it in their next man up mentality, and they've just been going from there.
I love the CJ McCollum. I love his role on the team. I guess the real question is Brandon Ingram Batman and Zion Williams at Robinson, or what?
Yes.
Or Rob? What's going on?
Brandon is definitely their closer. You got to play through Brandon.
Yeah, like
I would say Zion is Superman and Ingram is Batman.
Well, when I think Batman, I think closer. Who can I get the ball to? Say, bring me home.
Ingram is definitely the Batman for sure. But then you got the strengths. You got the bully ball, and that's Superman for sure for Zion.
Yeah.
And then the question I have for Chris, I've been around enough Clippers games. Have you seen enough of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard together for it to say, hey, if both guys are actually healthy, it can work with the current lineup that they have? Because everyone's like, if this team is healthy, they're a top 3 team in the Western Conference. But that's a big what if, because it hasn't been that way since they both got there.
Yeah, no, they're not healthy right now, and they can't win without those 2 guys. So, I mean, everybody knows it within the organization, but no, they've been in and out the lineup again this year. So, at the end of the day, I just think they're trying to get to the dance. Ty Lue's are trying to get to the dance with those guys healthy, regardless of the seed, regardless of what seed they are. That's just the vibe I get, to be honest with you, because I believe they think they can beat anybody in the Western Conference with everybody healthy. It's not just those 2 guys. They've had Luke out, they've had Norman Powell out. They've had T-Man out, Marcus Morris, so he hasn't had his full roster to play with all season. All season, he hasn't had a full roster. He's had at least 1 or 2 guys out every game who contribute. I'm not talking about guys coming in and out of the G League. I'm talking about guys who contribute. One of his top 9 or 10 guys. That's the vibe I get. Never asked that, but I believe they believe they can beat anybody when they're fully healthy. But they just haven't been.
But the thing is, though, in 3 years, they haven't been fully healthy.
I agree.
Kawhi Leonard, and when Kawhi does step on the court, are we getting Toronto San Antonio Kawhi Leonard, or are we getting the I hope I don't stub my toe, be out for 9 weeks Kawhi Leonard? You know what I mean? Like, we have to really be careful with what we're getting here.
Right. Well, me personally, I wrote an article. I think PG needs to be their 1. I know he said in the beginning during the preseason game against Minnesota, Kawhi's the 1. I said no, you got to be the number 1, bro. You got to be. I don't know why. I don't even know why he's deferring to him, to be honest with you. He should be, as of right now, he's their best player. But everybody still looks as Kawhi is their best player. But he's their best player right now. But for whatever reason, he continues to defer. I know he knocked down that shot against Charlotte a few games ago to help give them the win. But PG has to be their best player this year until Kawhi gets 100% back, because he's still not moving like we're used to him seeing.
It's kind of odd to see Leonard just constantly not able to recover as quick as most players do, especially when it's partial ACL tear or the ankle injury from way back in 2017 when he was on the Spurs. Yeah. So it's just it's strange. I mean, he's such a dynamic player when he's healthy, but ever since he joined the Clippers and that sort of partial ACL tear back in the I want to say 2021 playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, against Utah.
Yeah, against Utah. It's just I don't know. It's been a weird curse that he's been developing ever since his time with Toronto.
I know. But I wanted to jump on what you said regarding New Orleans real quick, Randy, and why I thought I was so highly of them. I think they're young guys who are going to take the step that they're taking this year, and that's why they are where they are. The guys that you don't think about outside of Zion, McCollum, and Ingram, all those guys have taken the next step up. Alvarado, Jones, what's the guy that shoots? Trey Murphy, Larry Nance, even the guy Devontae Graham, Dyson Daniels, all those guys are contributing, man. And then Jackson Hayes, all those guys are taking the next step up. That Phoenix series did a lot for them last year.
And also, too, if you have to compare a team, I don't think New Orleans is a surprise. I think everyone thought they were going to play well, but I think maybe they weren't surprised it was going to be this well. The team in the East that I'm comparing New Orleans to, because obviously Boston and Milwaukee are the usual suspects in the top of the Eastern Conference. But I look at Cleveland to be similar to what New Orleans has, because it just seems like when you look at what Cleveland is doing compared to in a similar situation, New Orleans, is the talent's all there. You look at New Orleans' roster and you're like, okay, they got a lot of talent here. They got a lot of talent here. Oh, you got leadership from McCollum, who's had experience in the Western Conference Finals. He can help bring Brandon Ingram and Zion along. Okay, so now you're bringing in Cleveland to play with Mobley and Garland. You also have, obviously Donovan Mitchell. You have Jared Allen. You have all this talent there. Like, I would not be surprised if you a outside shot of NBA Finals of having Cleveland and New Orleans in a conversation like
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, listen,
that'd be amazing.
There's an old expression. I'm sorry, Chris, and I'll let you. I promise I'll let you.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Sometimes I always say new is better. I don't care if you're even if it's shit. Give me new shit. You know what I mean? I'm a little tired. I'm a little tired of seeing the Bucks, Celtics, and I hate to say it, the Warriors. Even though the Splash Brothers are a lot of fun, one of the reasons why I enjoyed the Milwaukee Phoenix series a couple of years ago, it was because it was two teams that you never saw there or hasn't seen there forever, instead of seeing the usual guys there. And I think that's very, very important in the NBA because there's a lot of guys who can do all these things that these superstars who are name brand guys are doing. There's a lot of guys who can do these things. Chris, I'm sorry. Go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I was because I got to get ready to go because I got to take my daughter to this little skate thing. But my question to you guys is: out of those two, I guess New Orleans and Cleveland, who has a better chance of getting to the finals? I'll say New Orleans. I don't know what you guys think.
I want to say Cleveland because Donovan Mitchell's been in the playoffs every single year since his rookie season, and he's always suffered from poor shooting percentage and Rudy Gobert not being there when he's supposed to. And I guess you could sort of coin that with veteran leadership. You got Kevin Love on there as well on the Cavaliers, so that's championship experience for sure. On the Pelicans, I mean, you just have pretty much maybe Valanciunas, I guess, when he was like a Raptor.
Well, you talking about just experience?
Yeah, Valanciunas.
Oh yeah.
As a Raptor or in Memphis, I mean, those Raptor days were long gone, a long time ago, for sure.
I agree.
And he's a very capable center for sure. But
definitely.
Other than that, you got CJ McCollum, who's
he's never won nothing either.
he's been in the playoffs, but he's always been a non-factor. He's never been like the 20, 24, 25 points per game scorer that Damian Lillard relied him not to be. And whenever he's in the playoffs, he just, he's a deer in the headlights.
But he's not that guy. Yeah, he's not that guy though. I mean, he can't be the best player on a championship team.
Of course, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that he's a good like number 3 guy or co-star kind of guy, and he hasn't been that ever since his debut in Portland. Whenever he was in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm with Jeremy. I'm definitely going with Cleveland, and I think part of the reason to their success is. Even take last year before they got Mitchell, it's all about because the biggest thing with Cleveland was they needed a star, and they got him and Mitchell, and then changing culture, and that's what they're getting with their head coach JB Bickerstaff. I mean, Cleveland just plays such great fundamental basketball, and they just rebuilt the right way. I mean, they waited for their star, they got Donovan Mitchell, and they didn't sacrifice the future for it necessarily because they still have 2 young guys in Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, and it's just one of the most complete starting lineups. And I think just in terms of path to the finals, I think there's way more top talent championship teams in the West because just in the East, obviously we have
complete disagreement there.
Chris, tell us how you really feel, bud.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna let Brian finish. I mean, I'm just asking for opinions. I just wanted to get you guys. Go ahead, B. I didn't mean to interrupt you, man.
Oh, you're good. I mean, I'm just saying, just take a look at the East. You have the Celtics and the Bucks, and then the Nets are a question mark. 76ers are a question mark. But then you take a look at the West. The Pelicans are a championship caliber team. The Grizzlies are a championship caliber team. The Suns, I think.
I will fight you on that one, but go ahead.
We're going to go through all that because I don't have much time, but I'm going to go through all that. Go ahead, B.
No, that's it. I mean, I'm just saying there's a lot more caliber teams in the West, in my opinion, championship teams, because I think a lot of these teams in the West can be just need to figure it out. Just 1 or 2 things, quick fixes.
Yeah. I'm gonna jump in with first to answer your question about Cleveland. One of the reasons why I think what Cleveland has compared to other teams is they have the front line. There's one thing that's sort of missing in today's NBA of being able to shoot 3-pointers running down the court with 12 seconds left on the shot clock is Cleveland's got bigs. And the easiest shot in the NBA is still the layup. And they dude, we're watching the Sixers and you're watching Joel Embiid shoot 3-pointers. I don't want my 7-foot center out there shooting threes. I want my big guys in the paint, banging bodies, grabbing rebounds, and putting it back in. And that's what Cleveland does have the ability to do. They just happen to have more of a complete team than a lot of other teams in the league. And Brian, to talk about the teams that you're talking about, the Celtics lack front court depth, which I think will hurt them if they play Cleveland in the playoffs. Milwaukee, look, we all know what Giannis's I still feel that Giannis is a superstar. He's a great player, but to go to an elite player, he still needs to develop a mid-range jump shot. And that's one thing that he like. Because you watch him catch the ball in the post. He catches the ball in the post. He runs back by the 3-point line and he goes driving into the basket and try for a layup or a dunk. That's what he does every time. If he develops a nice 15 to 18 foot range jumper, he becomes almost like an Elijah in that situation. I know that's a very, very, very dangerous comparison, but he's everything else he has. He's a complete player except for that. You mentioned the Nets, who's a question, they're clear question mark. Look, for as disastrous as that franchise has been over the last year and a half, they're actually looking pretty stable now, and now they're actually winning games. Exciting to watch. So you look around, and in the Western Conference, the reason why I jumped on the Memphis thing, and Chris is going to hate this analogy, and I apologize now, Chris. Please forgive me for saying it, but Ja Morant has I see a lot of Allen Iverson in his game, where it's Ja Morant is sort of controlling everything, every facet of it, and it's like the other four guys are just filling in the spots where they need to. The only difference is the Ja Morant supporting four with him have more talent than Allen Iverson had around him.
I agree, 100%.
And they can win games without Ja in there. But I just feel like Ja plays 1-4 ball with everybody, and I think that doesn't give you a recipe to win in the playoffs.
Well said.
Yeah, I'm not gonna refute that. I don't know why. You did that.
I thought you were. I thought you were gonna beat me up on that.
Yeah, no. I'm just gonna make my last point because I do really got to get out of here. But I think New Orleans has an easier path. I'm looking at the teams that they have to go through. I don't really see anybody that's as well balanced as them. I think all the other teams have taken a step down. That includes the Warriors losing their depth. Phoenix is not going to be able to close. They're not going to be good enough. Chris Paul, obviously, he's my guy, but they need more help. And I don't who really do they have to go through? Denver, Jamal Murray's he's still not back. Michael Porter can't stay healthy. Like you said with Ja, he's really all they got. Jaren Jackson is still not where he should be. Bane is playing well, but Dylan Brooks is up and down. So who really do they have to go through? Because the depth on New Orleans, I think them and Boston are like this. Boston championship caliber, but I think from experience, but I think balance-wise, as far as talent level, they're up there as far as their depth. Because Boston, they're going to be tough to beat for anybody. That's why I don't see Cleveland being able to beat Boston 4 times.
Are there eventually going to be cracks in Boston though? Because here's the thing: we know it's Tatum and Brown. Mm-hmm. Okay, and sometimes they switch off being Batman and Robin. One day Tatum's Batman, the next day Brown's Batman. But I think after a little while, those combos seem to wear on each other. Do you think eventually that's going to blow up in Boston's face eventually? Because they've been doing this now since 2018. They made their first finals. Like, you just watch it. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm drawing straws on this one. Drawing for straws. I don't know.
Well, because you guys go ahead and answer. I got to get ready to go. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
All right.
I appreciate you guys. But yeah, we'll touch more on that. Like I said, I look forward to trying to do this again next Monday. I guess.
Yeah.
It's right.
Next Monday.
Cool, man. But I'm gonna listen to when you get it up, Jay.
Okay. Yeah. I just feel like whenever they appeared in the league together as teammates. Whenever Tatum and Chris left. I was gonna say bye Chris. See you later. We appreciate Chris being on the podcast. Cut the Nets. But yeah, so Tatum and Brown. Whenever they both when Brown was in a sophomore season and Tatum was in rookie season, they took a Kyrie less and Gordon Hayward less team to the Eastern Conference Finals to Game 7 against LeBron and some scrubs that were the Cavs. So I don't really think that there's any sort of concern for the team. They're still under 25 years old, and Jason Tatum is going to be probably one of the best top 5 basketball players in the NBA for the next 5-6 years to come. And with Jaylen Brown being by his side, should they extend his contract and keep him on the team, I just feel like they need to have a good supporting cast around them, which is defense, and I think that's fine with me. I do kind of have some concern if they do play against the Cavaliers in the playoffs with the whole center situation, because you got Jared Allen, you got Evan Mobley, who are pretty much the twin towers of the Cavaliers, and then you got
Al Horford.
Al Horford. And, Robert Williams, who is injured, hasn't really played a game at all. And they're still waiting for his return.
Al Horford is the only player in the NBA who has an AARP card. So
yeah. I mean, hey, Horford can turn on the playoffs. He can definitely turn on the playoffs when he needs to.
That's why you pay him right now. Look, reality is, we were joking about this the other day. Bill and I were talking, and we're like, look, you pay him for the playoffs. Look, here's the reality. And Brian made a really good point earlier. The Eastern Conference is like, there was two teams in the league who were winning games, and you're like, they're like Dante from Clerks. They're not supposed to be there, So it's you look at the Indiana Pacers, you're like, who the hell invited you to the top 8 type of thing? And then Utah Jazz are the first quarter. But Utah is finally leveling out, which we all thought they were going to.
Yeah.
But like the teams, I said in the beginning of the season in the East, you have to put Boston 1 just because they were the Eastern Conference champions from last year. Milwaukee, we just talked about Giannis, but I have a problem with their lineup. Middleton and Drew Holiday. We talk about Batman and Robin. I think you have Lucius and Alfred with Middleton and Holiday. I think they don't really have a Robin there. I just don't put a lot of stock into Middleton. Not because of his injury issues, but just because of the inconsistencies of both guys have shown.
They just lost against the Rockets last night. Like
Jabari
held Giannis to 16 points.
Like my question becomes, okay, so Giannis is your Batman, and these two guys, okay, may not be Robin, but who's out there that you can go get that can be Robin? And that really becomes a major question. Or maybe this is just a Dark Knight situation where we don't get to meet Robin. You know what I mean? Like, we meet Robin right at the end.
Maybe he's Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Dark Knight Rises, before he's Nightwing.
It could be Nightwing.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, we were talking about the Nets before, and I'm just gonna quickly go through because I have to hop off too. But we were talking about the Nets before, and I've been watching a lot of Nets games lately, and I really, really have enjoyed watching Kevin Durant sort of play the big brother role to a lot of these younger players like Cam Thomas, like Kessler, who played very well the other night too. You're watching these guys play against Indiana, and that's a team you cheer for. You cheer for Kevin Durant having fun with these younger guys, showing them what to do. Look, Kyrie has come back from the suspension. Obviously, he's going to be on his best behavior right now, but he's playing well too. With Simmons has been in and out of the lineup, but he looked good at points too. Brian, I don't know if you got to watch that ESPN game between the Nets and the Knicks, but Ben Simmons looked very well against them.
Yeah, he did. He had I forgot what it was, but he had a nice little 5-game stretch going when he was getting 20, 13, and 7 or something like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
he played
and
very,
the Nets
very well.
need him to be a champion. The Nets need him if they want to get over the hump and get to where they were, because he needs to be his best.
They do, and we're not even talking about. We were just talking about Cleveland, but we're not. We didn't even bring up Philadelphia. And I think out of these teams in the Eastern Conference, Philadelphia is the biggest pretender of the league, because you know what? Yes, Joel Embiid is a great talent, but I don't know how many times you're going to get 82 games out of him. You have James Harden, like Bill always says, James Harden invented social distancing before COVID on defense. He just does. He likes to keep that 6 feet difference from everybody.
He's not even a slasher anymore. He's just a facilitator. He's just kind of a decoy on the court. He doesn't really do much besides step back threes, and maybe if there's an opening, he'll go for it, but he'll probably miss the layup.
Right, and there's another thing too with Harden that a lot of people don't understand. There's a reason why the Oklahoma City Thunder let him walk away years ago, because there's a bunch of guys in the league who can play and score like James Harden. There wasn't a lot of guys like Serge Ibaka who can do a whole bunch of different things. So the Thunder decided to give that money to Ibaka, not Harden. So Ibaka's won a championship. Durant has won a championship. And Russell Westbrook, well, he's been bouncing around everywhere
on different teams, but yeah.
But so Harden had his opportunities in the Western Conference Finals, and he choked.
Yeah, and I think a part of that is just I'm not going to take it away from him. James Harden's a great basketball player, but he's not a championship basketball player. You win a championship by all-around ball, both sides of the ball. He's a liability on defense, and his ISO ball, it just becomes predictable. And if you're hitting your shots, then you're on. You're a beatable team. That Rockets team where they led the league in 3 points made, they were practically unbeatable. But then when you figure that out in the playoffs, when it becomes a different game and you're trying more on both sides of the ball, it's easy to figure out.
I'll ask you guys this one question, and then I'm going to go. You talk about James Harden is not a championship player. How do you guys feel about the fact that Kevin Durant went to the Warriors and it didn't really win? You know, we talk about guys being great players, but whether they're championship players, he went to somebody else's team. That's Stephen Clay's team and won a championship. Yes, he contributed and he hit big shots in there, but so did Andrew Wiggins last season.
It's the whole "if you can't beat him, join him" phrase.
Yeah,
you know, it's that. It's Durant was tired of Westbrook, you know, going gung ho and like what do you call
going crazy, yeah.
Dragon Ball Z Kamehameha to the freaking basket. You know, like every single time you could see countless plays every year in the playoffs where whenever Westbrook was playing, he would be playing really well for the first 3 quarters. The fourth quarter, completely just completely just disoriented, dysfunctional. His IQ just goes down the toilet.
It's the only season he didn't is the year that he was the MVP.
Yeah, but that's when Durant was not on the team anymore.
Right, but I'm just saying, like that year he was everything to that team, and
yeah.
You know, I was hoping that they would have beaten the Rockets in the playoffs that year. That just would have been really something to see. You know what I mean? Like you I know you're a Rockets guy, but from that perspective, you really would have loved to.
It's just the fact that D'Antoni had better 3-point shooters and they were completely sold on the whole 3-point and layup only type of play style, and James Harden was the facilitator for the first time when he had legs, when he had the hamstrings to go to the basket almost every single play. And then Westbrook didn't really have many he had what's his name? Robinson?
Robertson.
Roberson, yeah.
Roberson, yeah.
He was a defensive first player. Could not shoot threes for shit.
You know what though? If you have a second option, having a guy like Robertson on the floor is so key.
But it is. But it's kind of like a Thibault. It's kind of like a Thibault effect, where like he's good on defense, really good, a great defensive anchor. Offense, where is it? I don't see it. You don't really know how to use him for the offensive end, and a lot of teams will start to exploit that issue there. He had Victor Oladipo, who was probably this is before he realized he was really good.
I just don't believe in. I don't believe in Oladipo. Oladipo is a victim of systems.
This was before he went to the Pacers and popped off, before he broke his leg or something, before he injured himself. So you know, it was sort of I don't know, it was sort of a tale of two halves. Like Westbrook was pretty much carrying the entire team for the Thunder, but when he was off the court, it was just their plus minus and the point differential was completely lopsided. Whenever Harden was off the court, they just had Pat Beverly take over and just like, you know, have a bunch of players shoot threes, and that's it. And they were really good at shooting the three.
Hey guys, I hate to do this to you. I got to hop off also, but I really appreciate you having me on. And I as you guys can tell, I love talking hoops. I can talk.
No, yeah, we really appreciated you popping on this surprise.
Anytime you want me, and of course you guys have an open invite with Bill and I, where we yell at each other, and when we actually have our first guest of the season. We have former NBA official Derek Stafford going to join Bill and I later in the week this week. So we're going to. We're going to cause some havoc and see if we can get him in trouble with the other referees this week.
All right, man.
All right, thanks for having me, guys.
Take care,
Thanks, Randy. Have a good one.
You got it.
Have a good one. Well, that was awesome. Yeah. We're still rolling, but I mean, we could probably cut it short. I think I know what the title should be for this podcast.
What is it?
Have a guess. What did we talk about? Like, what was the majority of things we talked about?
The Pelicans,
the Cavaliers. We talked about how veteran players are taking over young players' minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should call the podcast "Let the Kids Play," like the podcast episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should call it that. We did
down
talk
with
about Zion, but with podcasts, it's just like we have things that are scheduled, but then they always sort of veer off tangent into something even better that we didn't even think of in the first place, and then we sort of just kind of ride that wave, and boom,
Yeah, no, I like that. Let the kids play.
Let the kids play. Cool. All right, EP2 we called "Let the Kids Play." All right, well, that's I guess we can end this podcast on that note, and thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. For audio listeners, to visual listeners, thanks for watching. You can find us on YouTube. We'll have some clips on Twitter, some clips on TikTok. I'll also see if I can get us on Spotify as well. Also check out our other podcasts on Back Sports page, Rickles on the Crease, Harvard Huddle, and that podcast that Randy and Bill just yell and bicker each other. So I'm pretty sure that'll be pretty fun. But yeah. Thank y'all for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.